There was an invisible line that was crossed in the last 48 hours when you had the video of the young white girl on the train in Charlotte, the Ukrainian Irina Zarutska, murdered in cold blood, and nobody did anything. And then we have Charlie Kirk, 24 hours later, he was so vocal. And the media, you guys in the mainstream media, were attacking Charlie Kirk in the 24 hours before he was murdered, before he was assassinated. And I do think an invisible line was crossed yesterday. You guys in the press call me the most transphobe member of Congress. Turns out that there were transgender, anti-fascist things that were engraved in the ammunition and in the rifle that was apprehended and found. I will not be doing any outdoor events anytime soon. If you have a difference of opinion from the left, they want to kill you. That is a fact, and that's the way you all should report it. Charlie Kirk was assassinated. He was murdered for his beliefs, and this is a guy, you guys in the Democrat Party want a national conversation. Charlie Kirk literally had a peaceful national conversation. That is the movement that he created. And he loved it when kids would come to his events and would have differing opinions, and they would peacefully have a debate, not even a debate. I would call it a colloquy. I would call it a conversation that we could have. And he made kids who were Democrats, who were on the left side of the aisle, he made them better debaters because he was a great orator. He was good with facts. He was educating people from all walks of life, and he was murdered for doing the very thing you Democrats want us on the Republican Party side to do, and I'm done with it. I'm done. It cannot go on anymore, and we've got to be more vigilant than ever. Thank you.
Yesterday,
can I get your thoughts about the moment of silence from yesterday?
Oh, Democrats, sweet Lauren Boebert, God bless her. She was such a good friend to Charlie Kirk. So was Anna Paulina Luna. All they wanted was a prayer and a moment of silence for Charlie Kirk. We all knew he'd passed away at that point. And Democrats were screaming and shouting, no, 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 over and over again. That is precisely the problem with the Democrat Party right now. Republicans, we are the party of normal, and they are the party of the wicked. They are the party of the vile. They are the party of violence. And until they recognize that, until they absorb that and take responsibility for that, nothing is going to change and will only get worse.
Congressman, can I get your reaction on Trump saying he's going to award Charlie Kirk the Presidential Medal of Freedom?
That is the opposite of bringing the rhetoric down. Look, I have tremendous sadness and sympathy for the family, for the Kirk family, for what's happened. But this is a guy who was raising money to support the guy who attacked Paul Pelosi in his home. Right? There are voices we can choose to elevate in our society and celebrate with things with the dignity of the Congressional Medal of Freedom. And there are voices that we do just to elevate and amplify the rhetoric. I would love to see, here we are on 9/11. Remember the tone that George H.W. Bush set for the country to say this is not a time for division. This is not a time to attack people who don't look like us, who don't think like us. It's a time to remember we're all Americans. It is a choice to only elevate people on one side of the political divide in this moment. It's a choice in Trump's speech last night to mention people on the right who've been the victims of political violence and ignore Gretchen Whitmer and ignore Paul Pelosi and ignore Josh Shapiro. Like, that's a choice, right? And what we need right now among all political leaders is people who are elevating and saying we are all, at the end of the day, all Americans. All of us have the same inalienable rights. All of us deserve dignity. All of us deserve to walk into a place and feel safe because we are Americans, not because of the letter that might hang after our name. And I know the president has the power to make that statement. I don't know that he has the ability.
Congressman, can I ask you about congressional security? Do you feel safe? Do you think you need more for you and your colleagues?
Well, this Sergeant at Arms has expanded programs with, for instance, you can get a memorandum of understanding between the Capitol Police and your local sheriff. I think that's a good program. They've got security systems at home that, you can expense. But the reality is that doesn't protect you from the kind of attack we saw on Charlie Kirk. There's no way to stop somebody from shooting you from 200 yards away. there's virtually no outdoor venue where you could be safe in that regard.
Will you be limiting any outdoor activities because of this?
No, I'm going to be outdoor this weekend speaking at an event where there's no possible way you could secure it.
So you're not afraid, or you're just saying, I'm going to take the risk?
I'm going to take the risk.
We're all targets. But, we don't, what this points to, particularly with assassinations, the left loves to intimidate. They're not going to silence us, our voice. Charlie Kirk was not didn't hold political office. He didn't riot. He just had views that he had people voluntarily come to college campuses. He's had it for 13 years. And so to kill him, we got to stop it. This isn't about race. This isn't Democrat, Republican. This is America. This is what happened the last year is what happens in third world countries. We don't allow that. America's better than that. But the turning point now, Americans realize that evil is here and we're going to fight it.
What do you think the solution is to violence in America?
Look, violence is having consequences for those who break the law. We've got laws on the books, and we got to enforce them. And you got to start holding judges accountable to turn them loose. It's not that complicated. It's not taking our guns away. It's not, we got our Second Amendment rights we're going to hold fast to. The campus where Charlie Kirk was assassinated was a gun-free campus. Again, this shouldn't happen in America. America's better than this.
I was shocked and horrified to learn about the murder of Charlie Kirk yesterday afternoon. All of us in the Senate pray for Charlie's family, his wife, his kids. The loss they feel today is incomprehensible. We thank all of the first responders who were on the scene yesterday, who continue to work with the murderer, until the murderer is brought to justice. We also pray for all those hurt yesterday in another act of senseless gun violence in Evergreen High School in Colorado, where 2 students were critically injured at the hands of a lone gunman. We pray for their recovery. And these tragedies are a constant reminder to all of us the immense destruction of gun violence and of inaction. Now, no matter your political views, yesterday's attack was heinous, cowardly, and ought to make everyone sick to their stomachs. Political violence is the enemy of democracy, and we have an obligation on all sides to fight it at every turn. We must condemn it whenever it arises, wherever it arises, including this heinous murder of Charlie Kirk. If we fail to quell the fires of political violence, regardless of where it comes from, it will become the norm. There should be no finger pointing, because this is an attack on our democracy itself. And if we fail to quell those fires, our democracy will be doomed. We can disagree with our ideas, but not with weapons and bloodshed and killing. And so, we mourn the murder of Charlie Kirk and pray for his family. We pray for those injured in Colorado, and we must work together to bring political violence and the scourge of gun violence to a quick end.
Yesterday, our country witnessed the horrifying political assassination of Charlie Kirk. My heart goes out to his wife and his 2 children. Political disagreements should never result in political violence. Violence has no place in our politics.
The life, example, and even death of Christ follower and American patriot Charlie Kirk give me hope. Sheer courage, no matter the arena. Charlie, we love you. We know that you have heard the Lord's words. Well done, good and faithful servant. Full heart, clear eyes. Like those on 9/11, he will never be forgotten.
Well, it's heartbreaking, and for Charlie, for his family. He's got young kids. It's just devastating from that side. There's a lot of anger, obviously. I mean, here's one of the most talented young people of our generation who was taken away in his prime by some nut, and for no reason. I mean, there's no justification for murdering somebody for their political views. Obviously, we'll find out more, and I trust law enforcement. They're all working together, the FBI on down to local officials working to get the answers that we all want. But it's just a sad loss and a horrible, horrible day.
Tone down the rhetoric after what happened with Charlie Kirk. I mean, it's a horror what's going on, and the gun violence is out of control. And my heart goes out to Charlie Kirk's family. What a nightmare this whole thing is.
Some Republican members of Congress have blamed Democrats at this point, and the rhetoric from the left as a result for this shooting. I mean, do you think that rings true at all?
Well, first of all, I haven't seen any reports about who the shooter was or who the killer was. And I think it doesn't help a very difficult situation for people to be blaming violence like this on political parties or political factions. I certainly resisted that when I heard people doing that after the Minnesota killings or after Paul Pelosi was attacked. And there's no reason for us to get into that. The violence against political leaders is unacceptable in a free democratic society, and it is a threat to democracy. So we all have to denounce it. We all have to reject it, and we should all resist the temptation just to point fingers. That takes us nowhere. We should be rejecting gun violence and political violence in all of their forms, regardless of who the target is.
As far as the political rhetoric goes, though, do you believe that lawmakers on both sides need to tone this down?
Sure, I definitely believe lawmakers need to tone it down, and we should do our best to try to make friends with people on the other side of the aisle. I mean, we're all Americans, right? So I just don't accept the idea that to belong to a different political party means that you're in some kind of enemy camp. And we all have to reject that and struggle against it. The idea that people use violence as an instrument of their emotion is just intolerable. The whole reason we have a social contract is to make ourselves safer. And that means that we resolve conflicts within American society nonviolently.
And I think I just keeping my focus on Charlie's wife and his two young children, and of course his family and the whole Turning Point USA family. And it's the worst thing. Shocking, and everyone's really devastated. My children are devastated. Just everyone I've known. There really aren't words.
Can you speak to his importance to the conservative movement, to your own political rise?
I really think what was great about Charlie Kirk, and I was just telling Tia this, is he would go on college campuses and tell young people to get married and have children, and just talk about how wonderful it is to be married and have children. He shared the Word of God. He was a Christian, and he shared the gospel of Jesus Christ, and he encouraged young people. And he also would have debates on ideas on college campuses, which, I mean, that's our First Amendment, and college campuses have always been a place for that. And I believe today he was killed for the words that he says and the things that he stood for. And we're honestly shocked. We're devastated, shocked, and angry. And those are just natural feelings.
How close were you to him?
Charlie Kirk was a friend. He was a good friend. I spoke at many of his events over the years, knew him when he was a lot younger. And, he's not much older than my oldest daughter. But I just think it's really, honestly, horrific.
What kind of legacy does he leave behind to the conservative?
Charlie Kirk leaves a huge legacy. It's going to be hard for anybody to fill his shoes. He was extremely important. Students all over the country would get very excited if they found out he was coming to their college campus. He brought in thousands of people to hear him speak. Even people that didn't agree with him would come. ask questions, even argue with him. He was always about the debate, and Charlie Kirk was never for violence. And to see him murdered in such a graphic way in front of the camera, and that video is too gruesome. Honestly, I hope it gets taken down. I don't think his wife or children one day should ever see it. I really hope it gets taken down. But I'm at a loss for words, and I'm not often at a loss for words.
How concerned are you about your own safety in the wake of this attack? I mean, he's a giant on the right. You were a giant on the right.
Yeah, he had asked me that too. Of course, I am very concerned. I have some of the most death threats in Congress, and they're always ongoing. But again, today it's not about me. Today it's about Charlie and his wife and his family and everyone that's mourning his loss.
I mean, I think what has just transpired is tremendously disturbing. It is the latest evolution and instance of political violence in the United States, and it must end.
What message do you have to your fellow lawmakers regarding the political environment and the rhetoric that has been put out in the media?
You know, beyond rhetoric, we need to talk about action, and we need to talk about, yes, there are words, but most importantly, we are in a job of leadership. We are in a job of action. We are in a role and a position where the American people are looking to us to do something about this. And every single day, people are dying due to gun violence in America, and every single day, there are people in this building that continue to vote against doing anything. We have a political assassination that happened at the same time as a school shooting where children are dying on the same day, a week after a shooting at a Catholic school where children were gunned down while praying. Are we going to do something, or are we going to argue over rhetoric? That is my question about this. We have to pass gun safety legislation and stop this. People can finger point all they want. Look at the record. Look at the actions of what we are doing. I don't think a single person who has dedicated their entire career to preventing gun safety legislation from getting passed in this House has any right to blame anybody else but themselves for what is happening. We have to stop this. Like, enough of this. This is horrific. This is awful. And the assassination of Charlie Kirk risks an uncorking of political chaos and violence that we cannot risk in America.
Before we begin, let me express the horror and grief so many Americans at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk have felt. Charlie was a giant of his generation, a champion of liberty, and an inspiration to millions and millions of people. Our prayers are with his wonderful wife, Eric, and his beautiful children. Fantastic people they are. We miss him greatly, yet I have no doubt that Charlie's voice and the courage he put into the hearts of countless people, especially young people, will live on. I'm pleased to announce that I will soon be awarding Charlie Kirk posthumously the Presidential Medal of Freedom. The date of the ceremony will be announced, and I can only guarantee you one thing, that we will have a very big crowd. Very, very big. Thank you, my fellow Americans.